Man, I'm sorry, guys, but I just cannot pick Dricus Du Plessis to win this Saturday. I really can't. I can't do it. I've tried to talk myself into it. I've run the scenarios in my head, and I'm just like, nah, I just don't see it happening. And I already know what some of you guys are thinking. Bro, how can you count out Dricus? The odds are always against him. He beat Izzy. He beat Robert. He's always proving people wrong. And yeah, I get it. He made a career out of that. I've been there with you guys. The guy has defied logic so many times that it almost feels like he's got plot armor. I mean, that's the joke, am I right? But at some point, even the plot armor has to run out. Eventually, you run into that one person who rips the script in half. And in my opinion, that person is Khamzat Chimaev. Now, don't get it twisted. I actually really like Dricus. I might be one of his bigger fans out there. I'll be real. I love the energy he brings. He's got that I'll fight anybody vibe. He'll trash talk. He'll even throw down in the cage. And he's even out there, kissing his coach on the lips. That's cool too. Whatever, no homo. But I mean, hey, I'm not judging, but that's how you know they're right. They're tight, okay? But when I break this fight down, I don't want to just lean into my bias because I like the guy. I want to be real about it. And when I look at the wrestling, the pressure, the pace, and the fact that Dricus really hasn't fought many pure wrestlers at all, I just can't give him the edge here, okay? Brunson really is the only true wrestler he fought. And Whitaker, Whitaker has it in his arsenal, but he's more of a striker who can wrestle. But it's not like his offensive grappling is anything too crazy to know about. He's a very good defensive wrestler. I mean, when Robert Whitaker takes people down, what does he do? He just mothers them, He doesn't have that big frame to hold people down or anything. They usually pop right back up. And Khamzat, that's a whole different monster, dude. And that's the craziest part, man. Across his entire career, Dricus has only gone up against two guys you could even call wrestlers. And neither of them fight anything like Khamzat. We're not talking about stuffing the occasional takedown or defending a lazy double. Khamzat will shoot, get stuff, chain it together into a body lock, and drag you to the fence, switch to a single, and keep you going until you're flat on your back. That's a pace you can't fake in camp. You either have to feel it in a real fight or you just haven't. And Dricus hasn't. That's why I think this jump is insane. It's going to be like from sparring in a pool to being thrown into an ocean during a storm with Khamzat holding your ankles underwater. That's like going from a kiddie pool straight into deep ends. And that's the thing, man. This isn't just, oh, Khamzat's a good wrestler. Nah, this is a whole different ballgame. Dricus has fought Brunson, and yeah, Brunson's a legit wrestler, but he's not chaining shots together the way that Khamzat does. Brunson will shoot, maybe shoot again, but if it's not there, he'll back out and start swinging. Khamzat, he's like a pit bull with your legs in his mouth. Once he gets a hold of you, he's not letting go until you're on the mat, praying for the fence to break. And that's the scary part. We're talking about a guy who's already said without blinking that he's one of the best aggressive offensive grapplers in the entire sport. Not just middleweight, in MMA. And I kind of believe him in that because he's already gone up against dudes in lower weight classes where the skill level tends to be sharper across the board, and he's handling them. People forget, man, when you're coming from the welterweight and moving up, you've been dealing with fighters who are often faster, more technical, tighter, and harder to hold down. So for Khamzat at middleweight, it's just more room to breathe and more muscle to bully. For Dricus, I think that's a nightmare recipe. The guy already has a habit of overcommitting on punches and leaving himself off balance. That's basically an open invitation for Khamzat to level change and dump him on his back. And unlike some wrestlers, Khamzat doesn't just control you, he's mean about it. He smashes you. He talks to you. He talks to freaking Dana White, talking to the corner, making it real clear that this is his fight now. And here's the other thing, man. And this is a big thing. Khamzat's pace in round one is just ridiculous. This isn't your normal feel it out round. The dude doesn't even believe in that. He doesn't believe in feeling anything out. The moment that cage shuts door, he's sprinting across like it's a 100-meter dash at the Olympics, okay? Except instead of a medal, his goal is to dump you on your back and start pounding on you. Here's why this matters at middleweight. He still brings that same suffocating pressure he had at welterweight. But the question is, can he keep it? At 170, guys tend to be a little quicker. They scramble more. They're harder to pin down at 185, but bigger bodies gas too. And when you're pushing a pace like Khamzat does, that oxygen depth racks up fast. It's not like we haven't seen moments where Khamzat looked human, though. I'll be honest. Go back to Gilbert Burns. That fight, different weight class, different situation, sure. But you could see by the second round, he wasn't flying across the cage like a madman anymore. That's the trade-off with going full berserker mode early. You either get the finish or you've got to manage that lactic acid that you build up for the rest of the fight. Now, I'm not saying he's slow to crawl, but this is one area where Dricus might be able to flip the script. Because if there's one thing Dricus is good at, it's being that guy who's still in your face when you expect them to be broken. That awkward, grinding, goofy style. That's not pretty. But if you're a little tired and this big unorthodox dude is charging forward, that can start making the fight real ugly for a guy who had the clean game plan. And that's where things tilt. If Dricus is still there after that first round, still making Khamzat work, still forcing him to reset, that fight is going to start shifting in his favor. We've seen it before. Khamzat's pace is a weapon, but it's also a gamble. When he doesn't get you out of there early, that suffocating pressure turns into heavy breathing, slower shots, and more openings. And Dricus, he's the worst kind of opponent for a guy who's slowing down. Awkward, relentless, and happy to make you fight in the mud for the next 15 or 20 minutes. Surviving that storm, and suddenly the mountain doesn't look so tall anymore. And here's the gamble, dude, with Dricus style. It's like a coin flip because this is the perfect chaos to wear Khamzat down. And this is why he gets ragdoll in the first 3 minutes. Because on one hand, that awkward movement, that weird angle, the sloppy but somehow effective striking, it throws a lot of guys off. He's not giving you clean reads. He's not standing there in a perfect Muay Thai, stance waiting for you to time your shots. He'll swing from the hips, step into a jab, or lunge into something that looks completely wrong, but somehow lands. And if Khamzat's used to drilling his shots against clean technical strikers, that unpredictability could buy Dricus a few keys to escape or scramble early. But on the other hand, that same awkwardness leaves him open as hell if Khamzat times it right. When Dricus overcommits, and he will overcommit, his feet get stuck, his balance is gone, and he's basically handing Khamzat the easiest level change of his life. And Khamzat's not the type of dude to shoot once and give up. He'll chain the takedown attempt into another and another until you're flat on your back, wondering if you should have just stayed in the bed this morning. So it really comes down to whether Dricus can make this fight messy without getting drowned in the first round. If he can scramble, force Khamzat to work, maybe eat a few shots just to get back to his feet, then by the middle of round 2, things can get a whole lot different. But if Khamzat gets clean entries early, man, that's where I just see him getting steamrolled. So yeah, after looking at all that, I just can't talk myself into picking Dricus. I know he's got that grinding, awkward, I'm still here in 4 rounds kind of durability. But you can't rely on that when you're dealing with a guy like Khamzat. Because Khamzat's not just trying to win, he's trying to break you. He's the type of guy that wants to take your soul, take your lunch money, and then call your mom after the fight just to tell her he did that. Okay, that's kind of the monster he is. And stylistically, this is his wheelhouse. This is exactly the kind of matchup that lets him look like the monster people hype him up to be. Man, he just isn't some slick defensive wizard who's gonna stuff 10 shots in a row. He's a guy who's going to give Khamzat chances. Maybe not on purpose, but they'll be there, okay? And once Khamzat gets that first clean takedown, I think the fight shifts permanently in his favor. Could it get dicey if they're both standing and they're swinging in round 3? Yeah, sure. But I think the gap in offensive wrestling, the speed difference in the early exchanges, and the sheer chaos that Khamzat brings in those opening minutes is just too much for Dricus to solve on the fly. So my pick again is Khamzat Chimaev. First round if Dricus really overextends. And honestly, this isn't just a big fight for Dricus. This is one for Khamzat as well. If he goes in there and runs through the middleweight champ in the first or second round, that's the kind of performance that puts him in that once-in-a-generation conversation. That's the fight where people stop saying, yeah, but what if this happens? He'll go from the most avoided man in MMA to the guy every champ at 185 and 170 is having nightmares about, okay? And we can't ignore the mental side here either. Khamzat's got that borderline delusion, self-belief that actually kind of scary, The dude talks like the fight's already over before it even starts. And some guys, that's just talk, but for Khamzat, he's proving that he can back it up. Now, on the flip side, Dricus is stubborn in his own way. You hit him, he'll swing back. You take him down, he'll try to scramble, even if it costs him energy. Which is why I think those first 5 minutes are going to be fucking insane, dude. But with all that being said, I'm still leaning Khamzat because even if Dricus is tough, his transitions and scrambles are slow compared to Khamzat. He's not that pop right back onto your feet kind of fighter. If Khamzat gets in on him, he's not just faster in the entries, he's faster in the follow-ups, and that's where the damage piles up quickly. Every second Dricus spends trying to work his way up is another second Khamzat's landing shots or chaining to a better position. Against most guys, Dricus can't survive that. Against someone like Khamzat, that's just how you get finished in the first round. But hey, let's be real. If Dricus does win this, I don't think anybody in the division stops him. Like, you survive Khamzat's pace, his wrestling, his pressure, and you still find a way to put him away or outpoint him, that's a badge of honor. That says, yeah, I'm that guy now, because there's nobody else at 185 that brings that kind of chaos in the clinch, in the takedown game, and in the early rounds. You beat Khamzat, you basically passed the final boss of aggressive grapplers in MMA. That would be the kind of win where you look at the rest of the middleweight division and go, okay, who's really going to crack this guy now? Izzy couldn't do it, Rob couldn't do it, Khamzat couldn't do it at that point. You might as well start carving his name into the belt, because it's going to take someone special to knock him off. But with all that being said, my money is still on Khamzat this Saturday. I think he's the guy who rips the plot armor away. And I'm hoping I'm wrong, because personally I like Dricus more. I'm a bigger Dricus fan. But that's just the way it's probably going to go. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And like always, guys, I'll see you guys on my next one.